Can I ask a question to another movie? A few weeks ago I saw the Troma film Citizen Toxic,
Yes.
Toxic Avenger 4, and I saw that you were in this movie.
Yes.
But it was made a few years before you had the great success with your
Yes.
movie. Were there any reasons for you to play in a Lloyd Kaufman B movie?
Yeah. Well, I love Lloyd Kaufman. I grew up on Troma. I love Troma films. You know, when I was my bar mitzvah, I showed Mother's Day because I wasn't friends with enough girls to have a dance, so we watched Mother's Day, which I love. I still love Mother's Day, and that was a Troma movie. And you know, when I was my friend got a job as the editor there, and then he had this movie called Bloodsucking Freaks, and he was doing a DVD, and the director, like, he owed them money. The Troma owed him money, so he refused to do a director's commentary. So my friend Gabe's like, you should ask my buddy Eli. He likes that movie. And he calls me, and I go, do you want to do the director's commentary? I was like 25. He's, do you want to do the director's commentary for Bloodsucking Freaks? And I was like, well, I didn't direct it. I was 3 when it was made, and I have no credits. So why would they want me to do what am I? And they're like, no, we'll call you blood and guts expert. I'm like, great. So, and Lloyd Kaufman said, we'll pay you $35. And I didn't even cash the check. Yeah, I just have the check for $35 from Lloyd Kaufman. And I went and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this in a way like Peter Cowie did a commentary on my 7th Seal Laserdisc. It's like this British film historian. I'm like, I'll do this like I'm like a real serious film historian. And I researched the shit out of it, and I found every actor in the cast. And suddenly I became like, I had like my PhD in Bloodsucking Freaks, and I started doing a commentary. But then I ran out of facts after like 3, and I just started making stuff up about the symbolism and how Taxi Driver stole everything from this movie. And there was one review that was like, this idiot thinks that Martin Scorsese stole from this. It was like, people took it seriously. But I became very friendly with Lloyd after that. So every time Lloyd was shooting in town, he'd be like, oh, come by and say hi. So whenever you go by and say hi, you wind up on camera. Like, I stopped by and they're shooting a scene with Lemmy, and they're like, here, Eli, you'll come by, we're shooting the Playboy Mansion. And the next thing's like, here, Eli, you're in the scene. Oh, and next thing you know, he's filming you. It's not like I auditioned or cast. I didn't know I was going to be in it. I just drove by the set to say hi to Lloyd because he was in LA for a day. And next thing you know, you're like in Citizen Toxic. And then, of course, this is all before Cabin Fever. Now, after Cabin Fever came out, then it was like, you know, you could use Eli Roth doing the commentaries.
After the DVD release of Hostel 1, we got a lot of letters from our readers, like kind of saying that the whole new breed of horror movies like Hostel, like Saw, like Hills Have Eyes and stuff, are all about more guts, more shocking, more blood, more this, more that, more horrific. Whereas like in the past, like in the 80s, 90s, horror movies were the actual horror was created by atmosphere and suspense, and mostly was built up inside the head of the viewers, but not on screen. So explicit. And what do you think? What do you say?
I think that those readers really have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, and they're completely romanticizing horror in the 80s. Horror in the 80s died because they became what's called body count movies. And that it wasn't about what's scary at all. It wasn't about atmosphere. It was how can the killer kill the kids these ways. And people were rooting for Freddy and rooting for Jason. And it was like movies like Commando were very popular, so you had to higher body count. There was a backlash against violence in the late 80s, so violence was essentially removed from all movies, and horror stopped being made. There were almost no horror films in the 90s. Then there's Blair Witch, and then there's Scream. I think that every story, but if you look at what we're doing today, it's nothing compared to what was done in the 70s. Nothing will ever be as violent as a film like Pasolini's Salò, Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust. Look at the Lucio Fulci movies. I mean, those films, people regurgitating guts and eyes popping out of people's heads, and look at the original Dawn of the Dead. The stuff that we're doing now is nothing compared to the violence of the 70s. So I think when people go, oh, it's about atmosphere, it's about mood, it depends what story you're talking about. When I watch a ghost movie, when I watch The Ring, when I watch The Others, when I watch The Sixth Sense, I don't need to see graphic violence. Those movies are specifically about mood and atmosphere. Look at Robert Wise's The Haunting, one of the scariest films ever made, but it's a ghost movie. You don't need to see violence in it. When I see movies like Saw, I want to see gore. That's specifically what I'm paying for. And I think kind of post 9/11, you know, there's a whole generation of people that happened, you know, 5-6 years ago. There's a whole generation of people that have grown up being told you're going to get blown up. The terrorists are going to kill you. They're coming to get you. And being in this war in Iraq, and images coming over and people coming back mutilated, it's happening more and more. people now, the appetite has come around again, that people want to see that kind of violence in movies. It reflects what's going on in their own. I hear from soldiers in Iraq who tell me that Hostel is one of the most popular movies in the military base because they when they're seeing people with their faces blown up, they can't react. They have to be machines and they have to respond to a situation, and they're emotionless. But they see so much violence, but they can't let it out. But then when they watch Hostel for 90 minutes, they're allowed to be scared and they're allowed to scream. And I think that a lot of people feel this way. But it's nothing compared to what was done in the 70s, which is reaction to Vietnam.
One last question. When did you see The Haunting? You mean the Robert Wise?
Robert Wise Haunting? Oh, I saw it years ago. I mean, it's one of my favorite films. I love it. I love it. It's terrifying. It's great. And it's just...
young when I saw that.
Yeah, it's still a very scary movie. It's like The Changeling. You know, there's some really creepy. Well, not The Changeling so much, but The Haunting is awesome. It's a brilliant film. That's Robert Wise.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.